He is the author of 9 previous novels, including the Satanic Verses, that made him the target of a fatwa. But that was then, and now he has a new novel, The Enchantress of Florence. And Salman Rushdie is here. Welcome.
Hello, nice to be here.
Good to have you here. You've got all kinds of summer reading lists you've made with this book.
Yeah, I'm glad yes, I think of it as a beach read, really.
Oh, I don't know about that. It's a little, you gotta follow along. I mean, I felt like I was taking a magic carpet ride through, 16th century India and then Renaissance Italy. How do you decide where your places are going to be and what century you pick?
Well, this one, I mean, I've never written anything quite as kind of wholly a historical novel as this, but it's just such a great period, both in the East and the West. You have the high Renaissance, Botticelli, Leonardo, Medici dukes, poisoning Borgias, wicked popes, Machiavelli. And on the other side, you have the India of having a kind of renaissance of its own, under the reign of the great Emperor Akbar, who ruled India the whole second half of the 16th century. It was more or less an exact contemporary of Queen Elizabeth I of England. And these two worlds having this kind of pinnacle moment, but which were very unaware of each other. So I thought I'd just invent a story that made them aware of each other.
Well, yeah, and you weave them in. Now, I really wondered if you think people were that different back then.
I don't think so, really. I mean, I think one of the discoveries for me, doing the reading, finding my way into this material, is that we're exactly the same. I mean, if we think that they were bloodthirsty then, well, we're bloodthirsty now. And if we think that we're cynical and brutal sometimes now, well, we were sure cynical and brutal then. And at the best also, the kind of best of human nature, the beautiful art that people can produce, and the kind of the best of the thinking, the humanism of the Renaissance, it's at the best and the worst, we're the same species.
A couple terms have been tossed around: magical realism or creative nonfiction. I don't know if you like any of those, but how do you describe this kind of genre? Because things change, people morph. Inanimate becomes animate, vice versa. One guy goes into a picture frame and he's obsessed by a woman. He's eventually allowed out. But how do you describe it?
Well, what I thought is, if you look at the kind of stuff that people were reading then, the kind of stories they liked reading, and this is true of the East and the West equally. They read stories which were kind of grown-up fairy tales. They had dragons in them, monsters. They had cruel princes, imprisoned princesses, wizards, sorceresses, etc. That's what they liked to read. I thought, if I can not just write a novel about that period, but kind of enter into the imaginative space that they liked living in, and write a novel that they might have wished to read, but obviously with a kind of modern spin on it, because I'm writing now, not then. That might be very entertaining to do. So it I think, falls into that category which used to be called romance, that it actually was. It's got witches, and
it's got everything,
ogres, and princesses and demons and so on. But I hope it's a 21st century take on that kind of material.
One of the reasons the book is also noteworthy is for its bibliography, and I went back and checked every single book that you listed in there.
Right.
Oh yeah, I love it. I mean, I can't stand it when I pick up a book now that doesn't have an index or a bibliography. It's like you want to know where people got their ideas, where they got some of their sourcing from.
Yeah, I felt there's 2 reasons for putting it there. One was respect, to say, look, I could not have written this book if it weren't for all these other people's work. So I should just at least recognize that, And the other is to say to the reader, if you enjoy this, as you say, wild ride, this magic carpet ride, maybe you want to continue the ride. And if you're attracted to some aspect of the novel, whether it's the Renaissance, whether it's the Ottoman Empire, whether it's the Mughal Empire, and you want to just go on that journey, these books in the back will help you do that.
And is part of it that you want to make sure you do give credit, because there's been so much in the publishing world, as you know, about faked memoirs or assuming people's words without.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that I wanted to recognize the books without which I couldn't have done this work, I didn't particularly want to be accused of anything. And there was a stupid thing that happened to Ian McEwan after Atonement, where somebody said he'd misused some information. I mean, there's no way of writing a historical novel without leaning on source material. So I just thought I wanted to just say that these are the sources, and out of it, I've cooked up this wild tale.
In one of the reviews of the book I read, or maybe it was an interview with you in one of the pieces I read, you said that you have no desire to write about the 10 years after Satanic Verses where you were, targeted. Why not?
I don't know. I don't know that I've got no desire. I've got no desire yet. I mean, the thing is that I got stuck in that jam for 9 years, whatever it was. I just have no particular desire to revisit it right now. And I think one of the problems that happened to me, one of the lasting problems, is that people who knew about me through those events began to think that I was some kind of religious writer, certainly not a funny writer, etc. And I think for people who'd never read my work, it wasn't very attractive to think, oh, why would I read a book like that, you know? Whereas actually, I think people who've read my work know that it's going to, I hope that it's funny and that
Yes, it's completely different. But it could be a magical carpet ride, too.
Yeah, but I mean, what I think is, at the moment, I want to write the fiction, which is the reason I became a writer in the first place. But I mean, I have to say, there's a lot of people telling me to write that memoir, so...
Thinking about it anyway.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about you even in terms of, I guess it's almost 2 years ago now, during the publication of those Mohammed cartoons. And if you felt some identity with the newspapers or the people, and even they, I mean, they weren't necessarily religious cartoonists, but suddenly they were identified with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, what would a reverential cartoon look like? You know, there's no such thing as a respectful political cartoon.
Yeah.
The form itself is disrespectful and irreverent. And I think if we're going to have an open society, which I think we all want, we have to accept that there will be elements of disrespect and irreverence and even downright rudeness, which political cartoons can be.
Did you see the whole controversy today with the New Yorker cartoon?
Yeah,
what did you make of that?
Well, I guess it's supposed to be ironic.
Did you see the irony?
No, I think, you know, somebody said irony is what people miss. And I'm afraid that might be true in this case.
Well, it was also supposed to be satire. I guess I missed that, too.
Yeah, I guess so.
So what have you got in the pipeline?
I think I've got to write a children's book because my 11-year-old son, I mean, I have a grown-up son, and when he was 11, I wrote a book for him called Haroon and the Sea of Stories. And I now have another 11-year-old who read it, and he's now going, where's my book?
Oh, perfect.
And there's no answer to that except to write it.
No excuse. All right, Salman Rushdie, this is a lot of fun. The Enchantress of Florence, good beach book, or Rainy Day at the Lake book.
Yes,
Either
indeed.
one. All right, pleasure to have you.
Thank you.